The film opens with a man inside his car. He shuts off the motor and enters a building. Eddie, a former soldier with a distinguished military record, is at a recruiting firm. Despite passing all psychological assessments, the agency informs him that they currently lack a suitable position when discussing future work options based on his skills. Eddie, who is eager to take any work, departs. However, the agency's determined woman follows him outside, telling him that she can arrange a position for him. Eddie agrees, and the scene shifts to marshals getting ready to accompany a witness. As they drive through different terrain, their phones lose signal, and they realize that they are being followed. The radio breaks down, and with highlights on, they collide with road spikes, leading in frenzied combat between the marshals and the pursuit. Both sides suffer numerous casualties during the fierce clash, causing the marshals to tell the witness to evacuate when given the order. His companions perish one by one amid the continuous combat, and the witness flees the mayhem. As the battle nears its conclusion, only one marshal remains, and he is killed quickly. When the armed rivals are unable to find their target, they shift their focus to cleaning the place. Eddie is alone in a motel room during a thunderstorm. He ruminates alone before summoning the guts to call his wife. He shares the happy news of getting a job, but he follows it up with the sad news that he'll be gone for an extended amount of time. He is stressed out because he is isolated from his family. As the night progresses, Eddie arrives at a mall and waits for its locked doors to open. He learns the job offers no overtime and pays the minimum rate while handing over paperwork to a man. Their mission entails guarding a commercial complex, and Vance, escorted by Mason, introduces him to command base. Ruby, the third recruit, is only referenced briefly. Vance unveils the final member of the squad, Johnny, and orders him to go upstairs, but Johnny refuses the order. Vance then introduces Eddie to the 5 zones, indicating a preference for the last one and sharing information about the high crime rates and rampant drug use in the area. Vance is astute and gets deduced by Eddie's military record. He affirms his position as the team leader firmly, emphasizing Eddie's responsibility to acknowledge him as such. The shift begins with this instruction, and Eddie approaches the work with the seriousness of an army captain. Shortly, the building goes dark as he scans the surroundings due to a power loss caused by the enormous storm outside. When a little girl bangs on the main door, he feels uneasy. Despite Vance's warning, Eddie unlocks the door, and the girl collapses inside, clearly distressed. They rush her to the office and attempt to call the police, only to discover that the phone lines are dead. When the crew notices a man at the door, he claims to be looking for his daughter. Vance is relieved and orders Johnny to take her down. Eddie, who is skeptical, inquires about the girl's name, and the man, Charlie, regularly responds. Vance, on the other hand, locks the door as the girl awakens and cries, leaving in terror. A second man shows in, carrying a briefcase containing $1.25 million. Vance is confronted with an ultimatum. Remove the cameras and hand over the girl for the money, otherwise everyone inside would suffer. Eddie refuses to cooperate, knocking Vance unconscious. Charlie acknowledges Eddie's military service before departing for a mercenary army. He instructs his right-hand guy, Dead Eyes, to surround the facility with all available units. A ball unexpectedly bounces near Eddie as he desperately reaches out for Jamie, recounting his own experience of having a daughter named Sylvia. Eddie quickly disarms the young girl who has him at gunpoint with a toy gun. She coerces him into promising her security, revealing herself as a witness to her father's death at the hands of a brutal crime gang. Fear overcomes the gang, with the exception of Eddie, as they prepare to testify the following day. Eddie shouts commands as many men approach their facility as captured on CCTV cameras. He then hastily hides the girl in a secluded spot, arming her with a flashlight, water, and a walkie-talkie. Eddie tells her flatly that she must not leave the room under any circumstances. Fear grips the guards as they watch their cars being disassembled outside the facility. Mason's decision to leave is met with Eddie's unshakable resolve. Vance appoints Eddie as the new leader, causing Eddie to declare that survival depends on whether he hides or fights. In preparation for the impending onslaught, the squad quickly constructs barricades and installs traps. Charlie orders his guys to drive through the front entrance. Eddie sets fire to the car and the assailant. When the crew comes under fire, they are forced to flee. One foe infiltrates the rooftop and engages Vance in combat. However, Ruby eliminates the mercenary out of nowhere. Eddie rallies his troops, emphasizing the need of buying time and surviving the night. Johnny is a surprising fighter, and also skilled in creating explosives. Meanwhile, the remainder of the squad prepares for the impending threat by setting up traps with the available materials. Eddie watches Jamie moving around and learns she has an idea as they prepare for the impending peril. The focus moves to Charlie's mercenaries. They break inside the facility, explore the building, and the security detail is waiting for them. The mercenaries try to gain access to the camera feed and unintentionally approach the first trap. One of their guys is electrocuted, but the others continue on. Jamie approaches the adversaries in stealth, using a toy cart. Charlie notices a radio channel on the cart, and his hacker connects to Eddie. Eddie advises Charlie to back down or face the consequences this time. Charlie addresses the entire security detail, luring them with a $100,000 incentive apiece, in addition to the $1.25 million guaranteed for the girl's surrender. He adds a nasty twist, threatening to hunt them all down, even their families, if the girl lives. Undaunted, the gang proceeds to investigate the facility, moving closer to the next trap. Ruby tries to distract the mercenaries by shooting an arrow at them, but they retaliate quickly with gunfire. The mercenaries believe Ruby is dead and continue their journey, unknowing that she is faking her death. Vance now takes his turn, hurting one of the adversaries before fleeing in a calculated manner. Meanwhile, Mason performs an electrifying maneuver, incapacitating one opponent and eliminating another with his rifle. Eddie comes upon a bunch of opponents while moving around the building. They engage in a shootout, allowing Eddie to flee the threat. Outside, a sniper warns Charlie of the coming county sheriff. Charlie orders a ceasefire in response, but Johnny, filled with joy, attempts to notify the sheriff. Johnny pays the ultimate price for ignoring Eddie's warnings, as a gunshot kills him. Eddie informs the others about the awful news, underlining the gravity of the issue. Eddie orders Mason to keep an eye on the food court, and tells him that failure to cooperate would result in the situation being resolved. As a result, there will be severe consequences. Jamie advises that she scout the males in the food court with her remote-controlled car. Eddie seizes the opportunity as the mercenaries chase the car, tackling the first man and using him as a shield to grab 2 pistols. He quickly defeats the remaining foes, including one who attacks him from behind. Ruby and Vance join forces at the same time, but Ruby is injured, forcing Vance to take her to safety. Eddie awakens with a vengeance, displaying his strong skills and rapidly uniting the troops. With their terrible manners on full display, he and Mason join the others to secure a fence for safety. This irritates Charlie, who wants to do the task himself. Vance attends to Ruby, who has been gravely hurt, while Eddie provides Jamie with a taser in case of need. Jamie recounts the heartbreaking story of her deceased parents during their touching talk. Charlie, seeing an opportunity to bargain, calls them on the radio and offers them one more chance to surrender in exchange for the money. Eddie firmly declines the offer, and the group braces for the looming ultimate showdown. Mason is relieved when he sees police on the surveillance cameras outside. Eddie spots the enemy communication vehicle and decides to destroy it. Despite the group's efforts, the adversaries break through the last line of resistance and are met with a barrage of gunfire from Vance. When the cops arrive, Eddie is apprehended at gunpoint. Vance manages to eliminate numerous opponents by hurling bombs and calling for backup. Charlie smugly grins. The cops want to know where the witness is, so Eddie orders Mason to bring her over. Vance stands up and shoots at the attackers, allowing Mason and Jamie to run past the mercenary to safety. Vance pauses briefly, injured and on the ground, but still able to eliminate 2 more foes. Back with Eddie, he observes a gang tattoo on one of the cops' necks as they approach. Mason is slain when he appears, leading Eddie to retaliate while Jamie flees. Eddie, who is engaged in a physical conflict with a mercenary, utilizes his gun deftly to destroy the other 3 in front of him. He refocuses on the work at hand after losing Mason. Eddie discovers Vance's death after chatting with Jamie and leading her to him. He tells Jamie to be brave and make her way to the store, where she will call 911. Eddie makes the decision to turn off the radio jammer. Eddie prepares his gun for action, meticulously eliminating adversaries in his way. He seizes a display bike and speeds into a hallway, avoiding any attempts to stop him. Deadeyes concentrates his gaze on Eddie before running towards him and opening fire. Meanwhile, Jamie goes into hiding, but Charlie stays in the same room, stating that no help is on its way. Deadeyes leap onto Eddie's bike, igniting a physical brawl. Eddie, despite his injuries, uses a metal as a weapon against Deadeyes. Eddie escapes after a spectacular motorcycle stunt. He uses his bike to smash with the communication van outside, shattering it and clearing the signal. As a result of this vital development, Eddie radios Jamie and Charlie overhears. Charlie locates a walkie-talkie as the shooter sights at Eddie. Jamie quickly informs the real cops, forcing Charlie to open fire on her. The shooter takes aim at Eddie, but Deadeyes interrupt, expressing his desire to eliminate Eddie. Despite being shot, Eddie takes down the sniper and dispatches Deadeyes. When Charlie becomes aware of Jamie's presence, he shares his tragic narrative and offers her life in exchange for not testifying. Eddie appears just as he grabs her. Charlie tells Eddie to take the money and flee, but Jamie uses a taser, allowing Eddie to shoot Charlie dead and save Jamie from the risky transaction. As the emergency services arrive, Jamie assists Eddie outside. Eddie is instructed to raise his hands by the marshals, who has weapons drawn. Eddie obeys the marshals, despite his wounds, and Jamie embraces him. This gesture persuades the cops that Eddie is not the bad guy. Vance appears to have survived the massacre. Later, Eddie is in the hospital where Jamie visits him shortly. She informs him that she is being relocated and bids him farewell. When Jamie sees her uncle, she hugs him, leaving Eddie with sorrow for not seeing his daughter in a long time. In the final scene, Eddie travels to rejoin with his beautiful daughter and wife in the aftermath, bringing the movie to the end. Thanks for watching. If you are new, don't forget to subscribe for more of these recaps. Until next time, have a nice day.